What's going on, gamers? It's Old Man Gunbuck, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you my review of Off the Grid. Now, this was an early access kind of play test thing. It was not closed beta. It was open to everybody, and you were only allowed to play one game type. However, after playing this for about an hour, I feel like I know everything there is to know about what you want to know about whether you should play this game or not. Now, the TLDR is that the coolest thing about this game is gonna be the Donald Trump skin. There's a Kamala and Donald Trump skin pack. It's freaking hilarious. They kind of do like the rubber president masks that we've seen, like the Ronald Reagan ones, like the famous ones for like robbing banks and stuff. But they did it for Kamala and old DJT, Donald J. Trump. This freaking hilarious. The best part about this is the emote is him literally building a wall. All right, so what's not great about this is that is the best part of this game, in my opinion. Now, I've played some games. I played actually a lot of closed betas and open betas and stuff like that from this year, play tests and things of that nature. Anything from Arc Raiders by our friends from Embark to Fragpunk and Spectre Divide. And even though like some of those games just like aren't my jam, I still can appreciate and try to look past the things that I have an affinity for, like an arena shooter or a movement shooter, and go, hey, you know what, I can still appreciate that. Like, I see what they're trying to do here. It's tight. The gunplay is good. Like, I really get a sense that people can have fun playing this game, even though it may not be for me. Well, with Off the Grid, I don't think that's quite the case, if I'm just being honest. The game has some really cool ideas. I think it's got some innovative concepts. I just don't think that they were executed very well. I don't think that they did those things in a way that's really fun or transfers into something that where the loop is engaging. Now, let's talk about the gripes. Or actually, first, let's talk about the things that are cool. I mean, really, if you don't know anything about Off the Grid, which I didn't going into it, like I totally went into it blindfolded. It's like Fortnite. In a way, in a sense, there's a lot of reskinned Fortnite elements in that, it's a battle royale. You're jumping out of a pelican or, a plane of sorts. It's 3-man teams. You're dropping down onto a map. You can ping where you want to go. You can't thank the bus driver though. So, there's one strike, right? You can't thank the bus driver. In this open test, I will admit they only had one game type available, and that was the extraction game type. So they didn't have just kind of like that open-ended battle royale, just PvP only game type. So, I mean, although I can kind of get the vibe of where they were going and what they were trying to do. And so there's some interesting elements and concepts, right? So if you don't know the premise of the game, this is like a real-life battle royale where people can take elective surgery to get their arms and legs removed and replaced with robotics. Initially, I think this program started for like people who were in the military and had experienced some severe damage and injury, and that's how the program got started. But then they were like, hey, we're gonna open this up to a game show, and like everybody's gonna just want to get in on this because the prize is gonna be so dope. So the story's like kind of ridiculous in a sense, and I think they can like clone you, so like if you die on the battlefield they can regenerate you from cells. I don't know, it got a little off into the woods. I will say that they did a great job with like the promotional footage and kind of try to make these little promo videos of real people, or at least looking like real people, or have the robotic arms and limbs and are kind of like doing like tests and things of that nature. It's like kind of cool. But in any case, so the game type basically goes like this. You are on the battle bus with your homies. You guys can kind of pick a spot to drop in, and then you fly and you coast down. The initial part of the game though is like just like in Fortnite, it's like this wait period on an island where you're waiting for the lobby to fill up before the actual game starts. But yeah, it was kind of weird because you still dive in. You can like start with some weapons and a loadout that you get preset or randomized, and you get to play around in that sandbox for a minute. You can kill other people in this. It doesn't credit toward the game or anything like that. but it gives you a chance to play around with like the grappling hook arm or the super jumpy legs and things like that. So when the game finally does start, which by the way, not a lot of people playing this, I don't think I got a full team, like 20 teams in there. I think the most I had was like 12 teams in one of the lobbies. When the game does start, boom, you're back on the bus. You just start floating down. You guys pick a spot. The kind of like the skydiving mechanic is inverted flight. So down is up is down. It was, it took me a second to kind of get the hang of it. But once I did, you get to the ground. And what's kind of dope, like here's a concept that I thought was really cool, is that if you are on a high area, you can always like re-engage that kind of jetpack like dive mechanic from pretty much anywhere. And so that was actually like a really cool concept. I liked that. I liked the way that kind of felt. I thought they did it pretty well. And so then you start looting, right? So there's all these chests around the map, just standard, typical, battle royale looter shooter like PUBG or Apex or Fortnite, where you go around and you open up chests trying to get weapons. But in this is where it's with a twist, because in this case, you can get arms and leg augments. So you can literally pick up like a robotic arm and swap out the arm you have with an arm that has some type of super augment, or your legs with an augment. You got a right arm and a left arm, and then you have your legs, which come in tandem or pairs. So like that concept is also kind of cool. Some things that I found to be troublesome was just like the shooting and the gunplay felt pretty clunky. It didn't feel smooth. And interestingly enough, like I've got kid. Well, maybe it's not interesting. I don't know. Funny enough, people say that all the time. Like when they say like, I'm just being honest. Well, it's like, okay, finally you're being honest with me. No, just kidding. Anyway, that aside, I've got some kids who still love to play Fortnite, and because my wife and I and we all game as a family, I'll jump on Fortnite even to this day, and I'll be cranking 90s on them punk kids. And I was just playing Fortnite the morning that I played Off the Grid, so I had a pretty kind of like almost decent like side-by-side comparison in terms of like what the gun and really just the gunplay and like how tight it does feel in Fortnite compared to Off the Grid. And that's kind of anecdotal, and I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but it did. It just felt clunky. That in its own right did. Some of the augments were cool and felt good, and some of the augments were kind of broken. So like the grappling hook mechanic like worked pretty well. It felt pretty cool. And then all the clambering, or like if you were to like to scale verticality, climbing up ledges, and all that stuff was pretty smooth. I did like how they don't have a stamina bar. Shout out Ready Up B. And so what that means is like you can sprint forever and infinitely, right? One thing I didn't like is there's not a double jump. There is, however, like a super jump. There's a couple of different super jump types that you can do depending on the leg augments. So like you can like super jump and come down with a superhero pose and smash the ground to inflict AoE damage. That's pretty neat. They do just have a super jump where you just kangaroo that bitch and just jump super, super high. They have some of the different arm augments are like, dropping out a drone to get kind of a radius on who's what where, and it'll identify some enemies on the marker or on the field or on the map. And then they've got like a little rocket one that shoots out some rockets. They got like this sword dash one. So all of that was kind of innovative and kind of neat and kind of cool. But again, all of the engagements just felt clunky in terms of like the exchanges with enemy teams and just the gunplay itself. So that being said, another thing that felt off was the performance. Typically, I don't have any problem running any games at all ever, but this just felt like something was not great with the performance. I'm not sure if it was the netcode. That's just a fancy word. I really don't even know what I'm talking about. But something was off with the performance. I played around with some of the some of the video settings and stuff like that to see if I can get some improvement. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but like something was a little off. And then lastly, my biggest gripe I think with the game is that some of the on-screen visual indicators for what were going on just weren't there. Or shall I say, it was like really lacking in kind of like steering me toward objectives or enemy fire and things of that nature. So I think that's a big misstep because, we were playing the extraction mode and all of these things were happening on the map and we couldn't really tell where they were or what was going on unless we tabbed out to see and we had to, take a moment to kind of look around, which I guess that's okay, but it would be so much smoother of a gameplay experience if when some extraction things and enemies were doing this, that, and there, like some indicators visual indicators on my HUD would appear and kind of direct me towards some of these things, just so I could have a more seamless gameplay experience and stay more immersed in that, and whilst following the objective. I don't want to have to tab out to play the game. Now, like juxtaposed to, like, let's say the finals, right? When we're playing the finals, the battle arena shooter, which is like super badass. If you don't already know, I mean, check out my channel. It's all finals all day, except for little stuff like this. But like, there's a lot of visual indicators of what's going on, who's stealing what cash out, and things of that nature. I only really have to pull the tab screen up in the finals if I want to like go kind of like meta and see who's fighting who. I can kind of detect and get some map awareness by looking at the combat scores going up on the teams, because there are 3 other teams essentially, and I can kind of get an idea of, or some recon sense of like where other people are and what they're doing. But I don't have to do that. That's kind of like some next level stuff. Whereas in Off the Grid, basically just to play the game or follow the objective, I kept feeling like I had to kind of pull up the map and the tab screen just to see what we had to be doing, like where were we going. So it was like kind of confusing. There's some other things that were pretty confusing and not super user friendly in terms of like weapon distribution, how the ammo distribution, putting armor on, and think, you know, like the chug jugs, right? Like you would in the final, or pardon me, Fortnite, to slap on some armor, or like how much ammo you can carry, because it doesn't automatically slot into the weapons that you do have, and you can carry different weapon types with different ammo types. It was like a little bit, which I get, you know, you could spend some time under attention and learn some of those systems, but I didn't feel like it was very intuitive. I didn't feel like kind of like mapping out the objective was very intuitive and allowed me to stay immersed in the gameplay. And I thought the gunplay was a little clunky. So, long story long, the game, it's got some cool ideas. I think it might be doing a little too much. It felt kind of clunky, and I don't think I'll be coming back to play it. But that's not a shocker to anyone here, because I am a finals fanboy. So if you liked my review of Off the Grid, it's just my take, right? Grain of salt, one guy's perspective on this game. You may plug it in and you may love it. That's cool. Drop that in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this of me like trying other games out, let me know, baby. Hey, thanks for joining. If you've stayed this long, you are a certified G. I appreciate you. When we'll see you in the next video.